I was terminated over Zoom after relocating across the country for this job. What I did next made headlines. The moving truck had just pulled away when my phone buzzed. After 6 months of relentless recruitment calls, Innovate Tech Solutions was finally making their move. "We've been watching your work for quite some time," the recruiter said, her voice dripping with enthusiasm. "Our VP of Engineering specifically requested we reach out." I stared at my half-empty apartment, boxes scattered everywhere, lease ending in 2 weeks. The timing couldn't have been more perfect, or so I thought. "We're not just offering you a job," she continued. "We're offering you a career transformation, full relocation package, signing bonus, and rapid advancement opportunities. Seattle to Austin, a complete life overhaul for what they called the opportunity of a lifetime. The position reports directly to the C-suite," she added, sealing the deal. "You'd be instrumental in our upcoming IPO preparations." I should have asked more questions. I should have demanded specifics. Instead, I found myself saying yes to the most expensive mistake of my life. Little did I know I was walking straight into a corporate trap that would soon make national headlines. The contract arrived within hours. 24 pages of legal jargon, but the numbers jumped off the page. Base salary, $140,000. Signing bonus, $25,000. Relocation allowance, $15,000. Stock options that could potentially triple my net worth. "This is just the beginning," the hiring manager assured me. "We're scaling rapidly. The right person could see themselves in a director role within 18 months. My family thought I was crazy. "Austin? You don't know anyone there," my mother worried. My best friend Jake was more direct. "Why are they throwing so much money at you? Something feels off." But the promises were intoxicating. They painted a picture of innovation, of being part of something revolutionary. "We're not just another tech company," the VP of Engineering explained. "We're disrupting the entire industry." The virtual office tour showcased sleek conference rooms, a state-of-the-art gym, and a rooftop terrace overlooking downtown Austin. "This could be your view every day," they said. I signed the contract that night. What I didn't realize was that I had just signed up for the most elaborate corporate con game in recent history. The next 2 weeks blurred together in a frenzy of goodbyes and packing boxes. I gave my current employer 3 weeks' notice. My boss, Marcus, seemed genuinely disappointed. "You sure about this?" he asked. "We were planning to discuss your promotion next quarter." Too late. The wheels were already in motion. I sold my furniture on Facebook Marketplace, watching strangers carry away pieces of my life for a fraction of what I'd paid. My apartment lease couldn't be broken without penalties, so I swallowed the $3,000 early termination fee. Investment in my future, I kept telling myself. The goodbye dinner with my college friends was harder than expected. "We'd been meeting monthly for 5 years. Promise you'll fly back for holidays," Emma said, fighting back tears. Innovate Tech's relocation specialist, Patricia, called daily with updates. Moving company scheduled, temporary housing arranged, first day agenda confirmed. "We're so excited to have you join the team," she gushed. My last day in Seattle was bittersweet. As I loaded my car for the cross-country drive, Jake pulled me aside. "Promise me something," he said. "If anything feels wrong, get out immediately." I laughed it off. What could possibly go wrong? Interstate 5 stretched endlessly ahead as I began the 1,200-mile journey that would change everything. My car packed with essentials, the rest of my life following behind in a moving truck. Hour 7, somewhere in Oregon, my phone rang. "Patricia from Innovate Tech, checking in. Just wanted to confirm your arrival," she said cheerfully. "The whole team is buzzing about meeting you. We've planned a welcome lunch for your first day." The enthusiasm was infectious. Despite Jake's warnings, excitement began building. This was really happening. I was about to become part of something bigger than myself. Mile marker 500 brought a text from my new manager, Ryan. "Can't wait to get you started on the Morrison project. It's going to be a game changer." I'd never heard of the Morrison project, but it sounded important. The kind of project that could define a career. Day 2 of driving, somewhere in Northern California, I researched Innovate Tech more thoroughly. Their website was impressive but vague. Lots of buzzwords about revolutionary solutions, but light on specifics. LinkedIn showed rapid headcount growth. They doubled their workforce in 6 months. That should have been red flag number one. But I was too caught up in the excitement to notice. The Austin skyline appeared through my windshield Thursday afternoon, gleaming towers rising from the Texas heat. After 48 hours of driving, I was finally here. My new city, my new life. The corporate housing was a comfortable apartment complex in downtown Austin, walking distance from Relocating's offices. Patricia had arranged everything perfectly: keys waiting at the front desk, welcome basket with local treats, even a parking spot. "Welcome to your new home," she texted, followed by celebration emojis. I video called my parents from the empty apartment, laptop balanced on the kitchen counter. "It's beautiful," my mother said, though I could see worry in her eyes. "Just promise me you'll be careful." That evening, I walked to Relocating's office building, a sleek 40-story tower with their logo prominently displayed. The security guard was friendly, confirming my Monday start date. "You'll love it here," he said. "Great company, great people." Everything looked perfect from the outside. I spent the weekend exploring Austin, familiarizing myself with the city that would become my home. The energy was infectious. Live music, incredible food, friendly locals. This was going to be an adventure. Sunday night, I laid out my first day outfit and set 3 alarms. I had no idea I was walking into a nightmare. Monday morning arrived with Texas sunshine streaming through my apartment windows. I'd barely slept, too excited about what lay ahead. The 15-minute walk to Relocating's offices felt like a victory lap. The lobby was impressive: marble floors, modern art installations, and a massive digital display showcasing company achievements. "Welcome to Relocating Solutions," the receptionist beamed. "You must be our new addition. Everyone's talking about you." Patricia appeared within minutes, practically bouncing with enthusiasm. "Today's going to be incredible," she announced, leading me toward the elevators. The office space was everything they'd promised: open floor plans with natural light, modern workstations, and collaborative spaces that screamed innovation. My desk was already set up with a brand new laptop, dual monitors, and a welcome note. "Coffee?" asked the person at the neighboring desk. "I'm Alex, senior developer. Heard great things about your background." The morning flew by in a whirlwind of introductions, system access setup, and orientation presentations. Everyone seemed genuinely excited about my arrival. During lunch, 3 different people mentioned how much they'd heard about my expertise. "We've been waiting months for someone with your skill set," Ryan, my new manager, explained over sandwiches. "The Morrison project has been on hold until we found the right person." Finally, I was going to learn what this mysterious project was about. Ryan's conference room presentation was impressive, filled with charts and technical specifications that made my engineering heart race. The Morrison project wasn't just another software initiative, it was Relocating's secret weapon for the upcoming IPO. "Client data optimization platform," Ryan explained, clicking through architecture diagrams. "We're talking about processing capabilities that will revolutionize how enterprises manage information workflows." The technical challenges were exactly what I'd hoped for: complex algorithms, scalable infrastructure, and cutting-edge machine learning integration. This was the kind of project that could define a career. "Timeline is aggressive," Ryan admitted, "but with your expertise, we're confident about hitting our Q3 launch target." 3 other team members joined the meeting: Jennifer, the project manager, Carlos, the lead architect, and Morgan, the data scientist. Everyone seemed sharp, motivated, and genuinely excited. "Budget?" I asked, always practical. "Fully funded through Series C," Ryan assured me. "No expense spared, top-tier cloud infrastructure, latest development tools, whatever you need." As the meeting wrapped up, Jennifer pulled me aside. "Just between us," she whispered, "this project could make or break the company's IPO valuation. No pressure, but you're kind of our secret weapon." The weight of responsibility felt incredible. This was exactly what I'd moved across the country to find. Week 1 dissolved into a blur of productive meetings, technical deep dives, and late-night coding sessions. The Morrison project was everything I'd hoped for: intellectually challenging, well-funded, and staffed with brilliant colleagues who shared my passion for solving complex problems. My temporary apartment began feeling like home. I'd found a favorite coffee shop, discovered the best breakfast tacos in downtown Austin, and even joined a weekend hiking group. The city was embracing me warmly. Thursday brought an unexpected surprise, a personal email from the CEO herself. "Welcome to the Innovate Tech family," Victoria Chen wrote. "Your reputation precedes you, and we're thrilled to have you leading such a crucial initiative. Looking forward to our coffee chat next week." A coffee chat with the CEO? I screenshot the email and sent it to Jake back in Seattle, who replied with "show off," followed by laughing emojis. The Morrison project team was hitting every milestone. Our preliminary architecture reviews were exceeding expectations, client feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and Ryan seemed genuinely impressed with our progress. "You've transformed this team," he told me during our Friday check-in. "The energy level has completely shifted since you arrived." Friday afternoon drinks with the team became an instant tradition. As we sat on the office rooftop terrace, watching the Austin skyline light up against the sunset, everything felt perfect. Too perfect, as I would soon discover. Week 3 brought the first whispers of change. Nothing dramatic, just small shifts that made my engineering instincts tingle with unease. Budget approval meetings that used to take hours were suddenly stretched across multiple days. Resources that had been promised were now under review. Supply chain issues. Jennifer explained when I asked about delayed server procurement. COVID-related, apparently, should be resolved soon. But Carlos seemed less optimistic. During our Tuesday architecture review, he pulled me aside. "Have you noticed anything strange about upper management lately?" he asked, lowering his voice. "Executive meetings are happening behind closed doors more frequently." I hadn't noticed, but now that he mentioned it, the C-suite corridor had been eerily quiet. Fewer open-door policies, more hushed conversations, and a general sense of tension that hadn't existed during my first week. "Probably just IPO stress," I suggested, trying to stay positive. But Thursday's all-hands meeting felt different. Victoria's usual enthusiasm seemed forced, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. The quarterly performance metrics looked impressive on paper, but something in her delivery felt rehearsed, almost desperate. "We're entering a crucial phase," she announced. "Market conditions are challenging, but we're positioned for success." After the meeting, I noticed several employees clustered in small groups, speaking in hushed tones. The energy that had felt so electric just weeks ago was shifting into something else entirely. Something that felt suspiciously like fear. The Morrison project hit its first major roadblock during week 4. 3 key vendor contracts were suddenly under renegotiation, forcing us to halt development on critical infrastructure components. The delays were frustrating, but Ryan assured me they were temporary. "Just a minor setback," he said, though his usual confidence seemed strained. "We'll be back on track by Monday." Monday came and went without resolution. Tuesday brought news that our cloud computing budget had been temporarily reduced pending fiscal review. By Wednesday, half our development environment was offline. "What's really going on?" I asked Morgan during our daily stand-up meeting. Her data science background made her naturally analytical, and I'd learned to trust her insights. "Honestly, I think we're running out of money," she whispered, glancing around to ensure we weren't overheard. "My friend in accounting mentioned something about cash flow issues, but I didn't want to believe it." That afternoon, I decided to do some investigating. Public financial records showed Innovatech's last funding round had closed 8 months ago. $50 million in Series C funding that should have carried them well into profitability. But their burn rate, based on employee headcount and office expenses, suggested they were spending faster than anticipated. The pieces were starting to form a troubling picture. Aggressive hiring, lavish office spaces, generous relocation packages, all funded by investor money that was apparently running out faster than anyone wanted to admit. I started updating my resume that night, just in case. Week 5 brought the kind of meeting that makes every employee's stomach drop. Mandatory all-hands assembly, the email announced. Attendance required, no exceptions. The main conference room was packed, with additional employees joining via video conference from remote locations. Victoria stood at the front, flanked by the executive team, their faces grave and serious. "We're implementing immediate cost reduction measures," she announced without preamble. Market conditions have forced us to make difficult decisions about our operational structure. Translation: layoffs were coming. Effective immediately, we're pausing all non-essential projects pending strategic review. My heart sank. The Morrison project, despite its importance to the IPO strategy, was apparently now considered non-essential. Additionally, we're implementing a hiring freeze and reducing discretionary spending across all departments. The room was silent except for the nervous shuffling of feet and the occasional cough. I exchanged glances with Carlos, who looked as shell-shocked as I felt. We remain confident in our long-term prospects, Victoria continued, her voice lacking its usual conviction. These measures are temporary adjustments to ensure sustainable growth. After the meeting, the office atmosphere was funeral quiet. People gathered in small groups, speaking in hushed tones about job security and contingency plans. The energy that had made Innovate Tech feel so exciting just weeks ago had completely evaporated. That night, I called Jake in Seattle. "How fast can I get back?" I asked. The following week brought daily rumors and weekly emergency meetings. Project budgets were slashed, travel was prohibited, the free office snacks disappeared. Even the coffee quality downgraded to something that tasted like burnt water mixed with regret. "We need to cut expenses by 40%, Ryan announced during our Monday team meeting. "The Morrison project is officially on indefinite hold." Jennifer, our project manager, looked devastated. "What about the IPO timeline?" she asked. "This project was supposed to be our differentiator." "IPO timeline is flexible," Ryan replied, avoiding eye contact. By Wednesday, 3 members of our team had been reassigned to other priorities. By Friday, Morgan from Data Science had simply stopped showing up. Her desk remained untouched, personal items still scattered around her workspace, like a crime scene waiting for investigation. "She found something else," Alex whispered during lunch. "Got an offer from a startup in Denver. Packed up Thursday night and drove straight out of town." Smart move, I thought. Maybe I should follow her lead. The office, once buzzing with innovation and energy, now felt like a ghost town. Entire floors that had been full of activity just weeks ago were now dark and empty. The modern workstations that had impressed me during my interview were collecting dust. Thursday brought another mandatory meeting. More budget cuts, more project cancellations, more temporary adjustments that felt increasingly permanent. I started making phone calls to recruiters that night. Week 7 brought an eerie calm that felt more ominous than the previous chaos. No more emergency meetings, no more budget announcements, just a strange, suffocating silence that made everyone walk on eggshells. The Morrison project team had been reduced to just 3 people: myself, Carlos, and Jennifer. Our work consisted mainly of maintaining existing systems rather than developing anything new. The cutting-edge innovation I'd moved across the country to pursue had been reduced to routine maintenance tasks. "At least we still have jobs," Jennifer said during our daily check-in, though her optimism sounded forced. Carlos was less diplomatic. "I've got interviews lined up," he confided. "This place is sinking fast. You should get out while you can." But leaving meant admitting failure. It meant acknowledging that I'd made a massive mistake by relocating. It meant starting over from scratch in a new city where I'd barely established roots. Thursday brought an unexpected ray of hope. Victoria sent another personal email. "Despite recent challenges, we remain committed to our core team members. Your expertise remains valuable to our long-term strategy." Maybe they were turning things around. Maybe the worst was behind us. Friday afternoon, Patricia from HR scheduled a routine check-in meeting for the following Monday. "Just touching base with all our recent hires," she explained. "Making sure you're settling in well." I should have recognized the warning signs. Routine check-ins don't happen 7 weeks after starting. They don't require calendar invitations marked confidential, and they definitely don't include unfamiliar attendees from corporate headquarters. But I was still naive enough to believe things might work out. Monday morning, October 15th. A date permanently burned into my memory. I woke up early, grabbed coffee, and walked to the office with unusual optimism. Maybe this check-in meeting would bring good news about project reinstatement. The calendar invitation was simple: employee check-in, 10 a.m. Attendees included Patricia from HR and someone named Thomas Richardson from Corporate Relations, a title I'd never heard before. At 9:58 a.m., I logged into the Zoom meeting from my desk. Patricia appeared on screen, her usual smile replaced by a professional mask that immediately set off alarm bells. "Good morning," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "Thank you for joining us. I have Thomas Richardson here from our corporate team." Thomas was a middle-aged man in a generic business suit, someone I'd never seen before. No warmth, no pleasantries, just the cold efficiency of someone who'd clearly done this before. "I'll get straight to the point," Thomas began, reading from what appeared to be a script. "Due to ongoing organizational restructuring, we're making the difficult decision to eliminate several positions, including yours." The words hit like a physical blow. Eliminated, position, restructuring. Effective immediately, your employment with Innovate Tech Solutions is terminated. The room began spinning. This couldn't be happening. Not like this. Not over Zoom. The Zoom window closed with a soft chime, leaving me staring at my own reflection in the laptop screen. Around me, the office continued its normal rhythm, keyboards clicking, phones ringing, colleagues discussing weekend plans, while my world had just imploded in real time. My hands were shaking as I closed the laptop. 7 weeks. I'd uprooted my entire life, burned bridges, spent thousands of dollars relocating, and sacrificed relationships for a job that lasted 7 weeks. Patricia appeared at my desk within minutes, flanked by a security guard I'd never seen before. "I'm sorry about this," she said, though her tone suggested this was just another Tuesday for her. "We need to collect your laptop and building access card." The security guard watched as I packed my personal items into a cardboard box. 7 weeks of work life fit into a container that had previously held printer paper. "Elevators this way," the guard said, not unkindly, but with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd escorted terminated employees before. The lobby that had impressed me so much 7 weeks ago now felt like a mausoleum. Other employees averted their eyes as I walked past, carrying my box of shame. Everyone knew what the security escort meant. Outside, the Austin sunshine felt mocking. The city that had welcomed me with such promise now felt hostile and foreign. I walked the 15 minutes back to my temporary apartment, each step heavier than the last. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake. "How's the new job going?" I couldn't bear to respond. The temporary apartment that had felt like a fresh start 7 weeks ago now felt like a prison cell. Boxes I'd never unpacked served as furniture. The few items I'd bought to make the space feel like home now seemed like expensive mistakes. I spent the first day after termination in a haze of disbelief and anger. This couldn't be real. Companies don't recruit aggressively, offer generous relocation packages, and then terminate employees after 7 weeks. There had to be some mistake. But Patricia's follow-up email was clear and final. "Your employment has been terminated due to position elimination. This decision is final and not subject to appeal." The financial reality hit hard. My savings account, depleted by moving expenses and apartment deposits, contained enough money for maybe 2 months of basic living expenses. The signing bonus would need to be repaid if I left within the first year. The relocation allowance had been spent on actual relocation. I was effectively trapped in Austin with no job, limited savings, and no local network to rely on. Wednesday brought a call from my parents. "How's the new job?" my mother asked cheerfully. I couldn't bring myself to tell them the truth. "Not yet." "Going well," I lied. "Still settling in." Thursday, I forced myself to update my LinkedIn profile and start reaching out to recruiters. But how do you explain being terminated after 7 weeks? By Friday, depression had settled in like a heavy blanket. I hadn't left the apartment in 3 days. I couldn't face telling anyone what had really happened. Day 6 of unemployment brought an unexpected visitor. Anger. Raw, focused anger that finally burned through the depression and self-pity that had consumed me since the Zoom call from hell. I started gathering documents. The initial recruitment emails with their promises of long-term growth opportunities. The signed contract with its generous relocation package. The reassuring messages from Ryan about the Morrison project's importance to the company's future. Everything was meticulously documented in my email archives. Promises made, expectations set, commitments given. And then 7 weeks later, Position eliminated due to restructuring. Something didn't add up. Companies don't spend $15,000 relocating someone for a position they plan to eliminate within 2 months. The financial math made no sense unless they never intended to keep me long term. That realization hit like a thunderbolt. What if this wasn't poor planning or bad luck? What if this was intentional? I started researching Innovate Tech more thoroughly. LinkedIn profiles of current and former employees. Glassdoor reviews that I'd ignored during the excitement of accepting the offer. SEC filings related to their planned IPO. Patterns began emerging. In the past 6 months, Innovate Tech had hired over 40 people from out of state. All offered generous relocation packages, all brought in for critical projects. And according to Glassdoor reviews, many terminated within 8 to 12 weeks. The pieces were forming a disturbing picture. But I needed more evidence before I could be certain of what I was discovering. I started making phone calls to former employees. The first former employee I contacted was Morgan, the data scientist who disappeared from our team. I found her contact information through LinkedIn and sent a carefully worded message. Fellow Innovate Tech survivor, would love to compare notes. Her response came within hours. Oh my God, yes. Are you still in Austin? Coffee tomorrow? We met at a small cafe in East Austin, away from downtown and the possibility of running into current Innovate Tech employees. Morgan looked tired but relieved, like someone who'd escaped a burning building. 7 weeks, she said, shaking her head. They terminated me after 7 weeks. Same story. Position eliminated, budget cuts, blah blah blah. How much did they spend relocating you? I asked. $12,000, plus signing bonus, plus first month's apartment deposit. She laughed bitterly. They spent more money hiring me than they paid me in salary. Over the next hour, Morgan shared her story. Nearly identical to mine. Aggressive recruitment, generous offers, promises of career transformation, followed by abrupt termination over Zoom with minimal explanation. But here's the thing, she said, leaning forward conspiratorially. I've been in touch with other people. There's a whole network of us. All hired within the past 6 months. All relocated from out of state. All terminated within 8 to 12 weeks. She pulled out her phone and showed me a group chat. 17 people. All former Innovate Tech employees. All with the same story of relocation and rapid termination. The pattern was unmistakable. This wasn't coincidence or poor planning. This was systematic fraud. The group chat Morgan introduced me to was a revelation. 17 people, all with nearly identical stories of recruitment, relocation, and rapid termination. Engineers from Seattle, project managers from Denver, data scientists from Chicago, all lured to Austin with promises of career transformation. The similarities were striking. All recruited from out of state, all offered generous relocation packages, $10,020, all hired for critical projects, all terminated within 8 to 12 weeks via Zoom, all given identical explanations about restructuring. But the most damning similarity was the timing. According to SEC filings that Marcus, a former financial analyst, had uncovered, Innovate Tech was scheduled to present their pre-IPO investor deck in January. The inflated headcount from all these new hires would significantly boost their valuation metrics. They're padding their employee numbers for the IPO, Marcus explained during our first group video call. Higher headcount suggests growth and stability to investors, but they can't afford to keep paying everyone long-term. The strategy was diabolical in its simplicity. Hire aggressively to inflate metrics, terminate quickly to control costs, and pocket the difference in valuation. So what do we do about it? Asked Elena, a UX designer who'd been terminated after 9 weeks. We need legal representation, suggested Priya, a project manager with a background in corporate law. This is textbook fraudulent inducement. That weekend, we compiled our evidence. Recruitment emails, signed contracts, termination notices, and financial records. The pattern was undeniable. By Sunday evening, we had contacted 3 employment law firms. Attorney Jennifer Walsh specialized in employment law and wrongful termination cases. Her downtown Austin office was impressively intimidating, with law books lining the walls and framed victories highlighting her successful cases. This is one of the most systematic cases of fraudulent recruitment I've ever seen, she said after reviewing our compiled evidence. 17 documented cases, all following the identical pattern, all within the same time frame. This isn't coincidence, it's conspiracy. She explained the legal concept of fraudulent inducement, when companies make false promises to entice employees to relocate, knowing they have no intention of fulfilling those promises. The relocation expenses alone represent over $200,000 in damages, she calculated. Add lost wages, emotional distress, and punitive damages, and we're looking at a significant class action lawsuit. The legal strategy was straightforward. Prove that Relocating had systematically deceived employees about job security to artificially inflate their headcount for IPO valuation purposes. But here's what makes this case particularly strong, Jennifer continued. The SEC filings show they disclosed their aggressive growth strategy to investors while simultaneously planning these terminations. That's securities fraud in addition to employment fraud. Over the next week, 12 of the 17 affected employees agreed to join the class action lawsuit. The others were too scared of potential retaliation or had already found new employment. But 12 plaintiffs with identical stories and documented evidence would be enough to make headlines. Jennifer filed the lawsuit on a Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, local business reporters were already making phone calls. The first call came from Austin Business Journal. "We've received a copy of your lawsuit against Relocating Solutions," the reporter explained. "Would you be willing to provide a statement?" Jennifer had prepared us for this moment. Media attention will put pressure on the company and potentially encourage other victims to come forward, she'd advised. But it also means your story becomes public record. I thought about my parents, who still didn't know I'd been terminated. About Jake and my Seattle friends, who believed I was thriving in my new career. About the professional reputation I'd spent years building. Then I thought about the 17 people who'd been systematically deceived and financially devastated by Relocating's scheme. "Yes," I told the reporter, "I'll provide a statement." The article ran Friday morning with the headline, "Local tech firm accused of systematic hiring fraud in class action lawsuit." My name was listed as the lead plaintiff, along with quotes about the emotional and financial impact of the fraudulent recruitment. By Friday afternoon, my phone was ringing constantly. Reporters from TechCrunch, Business Insider, and the Austin American-Statesman all wanted interviews. LinkedIn was flooded with messages from other potential Relocating victims. Saturday brought the breakthrough we'd been hoping for. A call from a former Relocating executive willing to provide insider information. "I left the company 3 months ago because I couldn't stomach what they were doing," she explained. "I have internal emails discussing the headcount optimization strategy and the timeline for post-IPO layoffs. The smoking gun evidence we needed." Sunday morning brought an unexpected development, a response from Relocating's legal team. Relocating's response was swift and predictable. A carefully crafted public statement appeared on their website Sunday evening. Relocating Solutions categorically denies the allegations in this frivolous lawsuit. The company has always operated with the highest ethical standards and treats all employees fairly. But the damage was already done. By Monday morning, Relocating scandal was trending on local Austin Twitter. The story had been picked up by national business publications. Current employees were creating anonymous accounts to share their own concerns about company stability. The former executive who'd contacted us, we called her Deep Throat for anonymity, provided documents that painted a devastating picture. Internal emails discussing human capital optimization. Spreadsheets calculating the cost-benefit analysis of short-term hiring versus long-term employment. Presentation slides outlining the strategy for maximizing pre-IPO valuation through strategic workforce scaling. Most damning was a recorded phone call between Victoria, the CEO, and the head of HR. "We need bodies and seats for the investor presentations. Worry about sustainability later." Tuesday brought news that Relocating's planned IPO had been postponed, pending resolution of ongoing legal matters. Translation: no investor would touch them with a 10-foot pole. Wednesday, 3 more former employees joined our lawsuit, bringing the total to 15 plaintiffs. Each new addition strengthened our case and provided additional evidence of systematic fraud. Thursday morning, I received an unexpected phone call from a producer at 60 Minutes. "We'd like to feature your story in an upcoming segment about corporate fraud," she explained. "Would you be interested in a televised interview?" National television. My story reaching millions of viewers. The ultimate vindication, or the ultimate risk. I said yes. The 60 Minutes segment aired on a Sunday evening in November, just 6 weeks after the lawsuit was filed. The producers had interviewed 8 affected employees, the former executive who'd provided insider evidence, and employment law experts. The segment opened with footage of Innovate Tech's sleek Austin headquarters, while the narrator explained the company's aggressive recruitment strategy that left dozens of employees financially devastated. My interview was prominently featured. Sitting in the sterile temporary apartment that had become a symbol of my displacement, I explained the emotional and financial toll. "They didn't just terminate my employment," I said, looking directly into the camera. "They destroyed my life savings, my career momentum, and my faith in corporate America." The insider documents were devastating when presented on national television. Internal emails discussing employees as disposable assets, spreadsheets calculating optimal termination timing. Most shocking was the recorded phone call between executives laughing about the suckers who actually believed the long-term promises. Monday morning brought chaos. Innovate Tech stock price plummeted 40% at opening. The company's phone lines were jammed with reporters and attorneys. Victoria, the CEO, was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. My phone was ringing constantly. Interview requests from CNN, NPR, The Today Show. LinkedIn showed over 200 connection requests from recruiters offering legitimate opportunities. By Wednesday, 12 more former employees had contacted our legal team, expanding the lawsuit to 27 plaintiffs. The settlement negotiations took place in Jennifer's conference room over 3 intense days. Innovate Tech's legal team, led by 3 attorneys from a prestigious corporate law firm, looked increasingly desperate as evidence mounted against their client. The final settlement exceeded everyone's expectations. $2.8 million distributed among the 27 plaintiffs, with additional funds for legal fees and punitive damages. More importantly, Innovate Tech was required to admit fault and implement oversight measures to prevent future fraud. My portion of the settlement was enough to cover all my relocation expenses, lost wages, and provide a substantial buffer for my next career move. But the financial compensation was secondary to the vindication. The story had become a cautionary tale about corporate fraud that resonated far beyond Austin. Business schools were using our case as a study in employment law. HR professionals were discussing it at conferences. The term Innovate Tech Syndrome entered the lexicon as shorthand for systematic recruitment fraud. 6 months after that devastating Zoom call, I was fielding job offers from companies across the country. But not just any offers. These were opportunities from organizations that specifically mentioned admiring my courage in speaking out against corporate fraud. The irony was beautiful. Standing up to Innovate Tech had made me more marketable, not less. On a Tuesday in March, I accepted a position with a Seattle-based company that offered full remote work, a 30% salary increase, and, most importantly, a signing bonus that more than compensated for the relocation costs I'd never fully recovered. The new job came with one additional perk. They flew me to Seattle for the contract signing. 1 year after that life-changing Zoom call, I was sitting in my new home office in Portland, a compromise between Seattle's familiar comfort and Austin's painful memories, preparing for my first day at a company that had specifically recruited me because of my Innovate Tech experience. "We need someone who understands both technical excellence and corporate ethics," the CTO had explained. "Your background demonstrates both." The morning routine felt familiar yet different. Coffee from a local roaster, laptop set up with dual monitors. But this time, there was no anxiety about hidden agendas or unstable funding. This company had been transparent about their finances, long-term strategy, and commitment to employee retention. At 9 a.m. sharp, I logged into my first team meeting. 15 faces appeared on screen, including the CEO, who opened with a personal welcome. "We're honored to have you join our team," she said. "Your experience speaks to the kind of integrity and resilience we value here." As the meeting progressed, discussing project timelines and technical architectures, I felt something I hadn't experienced in over a year. Genuine excitement about the work ahead. The Morrison Project, that phantom initiative that had lured me to Austin, had never materialized. But the skills I'd developed fighting Innovate Tech had opened doors to opportunities I never could have imagined. When the meeting ended, I closed my laptop and smiled. This time, the Zoom call had ended on my terms. The nightmare was finally over. The real career was just beginning.